Bodybuilding is facing a deadly crisis. In the past few years alone, more than 24 professional competitors have dropped dead, some in their prime, others before even reaching 60. Dallas McCarver collapsed at only 26. Cedric McMillan died at 44. These aren't accidents. They're the price of pushing the body past its limits. But it wasn't always like this. So how did a sport once built on balance and beauty turn into a death match? To understand why so many bodybuilders today are dying young, we have to go back to the roots of the sport. A century ago, bodybuilding was seen as a celebration of strength and vitality, not a gamble with one's health. In the early 1900s, pioneers like Eugen Sandow, often called the father of modern bodybuilding, introduced the world to the idea that muscles could be sculpted, not just built for labor, but shaped for art. Back then, the look was lean, athletic, and natural. The focus was on symmetry and functional strength, not sheer mass. There were no anabolic steroids, no insulin protocols, and no extreme cutting and bulking cycles. The risks were low, and the deaths were rare. By the 1930s, bodybuilding became more popular. Figures like Steve Reeves and Reg Park became famous. They focused on clean lines, symmetry, and lean muscle, not just size. Competitions were about who looked the most balanced, not the biggest. During this time, bodybuilders still relied on natural training. Steve Reeves, one of the most famous bodybuilders of that era, ate a clean diet built around whole foods like steak, eggs, vegetables, and brown rice. He avoided performance-enhancing drugs entirely, staying fully natural throughout his career. Reeves lived until 74, Park until 79. Their long lives showed that bodybuilding, when natural, was not dangerous. In fact, it often kept athletes healthier than the average person. But as the decades rolled on, the sport evolved, and so did the expectations. The physiques got bigger, the stakes got higher, and the methods became far more dangerous. What started as a celebration of health slowly turned into a high-risk pursuit where size became the ultimate currency. And with that shift came a new, darker reality, a generation of athletes dying far too young. Everything changed in the 1960s. This was when anabolic steroids started appearing in sports. At first, only a few athletes experimented with them, but soon, steroid use spread through bodybuilding.
The 1970s, known as the Golden Era, gave us legends like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, and Franco Columbu. They still focused on beauty and proportion, but behind the scenes, steroids had already become common. By the 1990s and 2000s, bodybuilding took another turn. Judges began rewarding massive size over classic shape. The mass monster era had arrived. Names like Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, and Marcus Rule dominated the stage. To achieve their huge size, athletes often used not just steroids but also human growth hormone, insulin, and powerful diuretics. The bodies looked impressive, but the health costs were huge. With more drug use came more health problems. Unlike earlier bodybuilders, many modern athletes began to die young. Their hearts, livers, and kidneys simply could not keep up with the strain. Rich Piana, a famous YouTube star and bodybuilder, collapsed and died at 46. Reports linked his death to heart problems caused by years of drug use. Dallas McCarver, a rising star in the sport, died at only 26. He suffered cardiac arrest while eating. Shawn Rhoden, Mr. Olympia 2018, died of a heart attack at just 46. These are not isolated cases. In fact, discussions on forums, podcasts, and medical channels often link these deaths to heavy steroid use, high blood pressure, and long-term organ damage. Looking back, the pattern is obvious. The early generations of bodybuilders lived long lives, but as the sport turned to extreme size and drug use, the risks grew. Today, bodybuilding is no longer just about muscles. For many, it has become a dangerous game with life-threatening consequences. So what exactly is killing these strong, healthy-looking athletes? The answer might surprise you. Here's the scary truth that no one talks about. These muscle-building drugs are doing something terrible inside the body. One of the biggest reasons many bodybuilders die young is the use of anabolic androgenic steroids, or AAS. These drugs were first made to help people with medical problems, but in the 1960s, bodybuilders started using them to grow bigger and stronger. At first, the results seemed amazing. Muscles grew faster, and physiques looked more powerful than ever. But with time, as the misuse became larger, the darker side became clear. But what exactly do steroids do to bodybuilders' bodies? Steroids upset the natural balance of hormones. This forces the body to grow in ways it should not. One of the most dangerous effects happens in the heart. Steroids can make the heart grow too big. Steroids also cause high blood pressure. They thicken the blood and create plaque in the arteries. This makes it harder for blood to flow. The result is a higher risk of heart attacks and strokes. The damage does not stop there. Steroids put stress on the kidneys and liver. Many autopsies of bodybuilders show scarred kidneys, enlarged livers, and thickened heart walls. These signs tell the same story. Long-term steroid abuse takes a heavy toll. Reshaped by drugs. Today's bodybuilders often use more than just steroids. Many add growth hormones, insulin, diuretics, and stimulants. Growth hormone can make organs like the heart and liver grow too big. Insulin use can cause blood sugar crashes and long-term diabetes. Diuretics, which drain water from the body, are especially dangerous. They can throw off the body's salt balance, leading to sudden heart failure. When all of these drugs are mixed, the risk of death is even higher. In the past, bodybuilders often used steroids in short cycles. They would stop for weeks or months to let their bodies recover. But now many athletes follow what is called blast and cruise. This means they use high doses during a blast, then lower doses during the cruise, but they never fully stop. The body is under constant stress. The heart, liver, and kidneys never get a chance to heal. Over the years, this adds up to deadly damage. Even bodybuilding fans online see the problem. Many older lifters say they survived because they cycled on and off and took protective medicines. Younger lifters, however, often push higher doses and skip safety steps. They do not use drugs like blood pressure medicine or cholesterol medicine, which could lower some risks. Without these safeguards, early death becomes much more likely. But guess what? Drugs aren't the only problem. What these athletes eat and drink is just as dangerous. Bodybuilding is not just about lifting weights. Behind the stage lights and competition smiles, athletes follow diets and routines that can push the body past its natural limits. While these methods help create the lean and massive physiques we see, they also carry dangerous risks. Over time, these practices can lead to serious illness and even death. Most competitive bodybuilders follow high-protein, low-carbohydrate diets. Protein is important for muscle growth, but when eaten in very high amounts for many years, it can strain the liver and kidneys. Doctors warn that extreme protein intake can increase the risk of insulin resistance, which raises blood sugar levels and leads to diabetes. Some medical reports also connect long-term high-protein diets with liver cirrhosis, a condition where the liver becomes scarred and weak. Low-carb diets also take a toll. Cutting out most carbs can cause constant fatigue, hormonal changes, and stress on the metabolism. While these diets may make the body look leaner on stage, the inside story is not as healthy. To get the sharp, dry look that wins shows, many bodybuilders turn to diuretics. These drugs flush water out of the body. They make muscles appear more defined, but they also remove vital salts like potassium, sodium, and magnesium. When electrolytes drop too low, the heart can suddenly stop. Several cases of bodybuilders collapsing before or after competitions have been linked directly to diuretic use and dehydration. The process of cutting water before a show is especially dangerous. Athletes may stop drinking fluids while sweating heavily during training. Combined with diuretics, this creates the perfect storm for cardiac arrest or organ failure. Another silent killer is the sheer body mass that modern bodybuilding demands. Many pros step on stage at 250 to 300 pounds of lean muscle. Off-season, they often weigh even more. Carrying this much weight puts enormous stress on the heart, lungs, and joints. Doctors compare it to the health problems seen in people with obesity. The heart has to pump harder to supply blood to such a large body, which increases the risk of heart enlargement, high blood pressure, and eventual failure. Even without steroids, maintaining that level of muscle is unnatural and exhausting for the cardiovascular system. When combined with drugs and strict diets, the risks grow even greater. Reports of several bodybuilders also reveal another problem: the use of recreational drugs. Some athletes turn to painkillers, cocaine, or other substances to cope with the physical and mental stress of the sport. These drugs damage the heart, liver, and nervous system, making premature death even more likely. Poor sleep is another hidden factor. Bodybuilders struggle with sleep apnea due to their large neck and chest size. Sleep apnea lowers oxygen levels at night, raising the chance of heart attacks and strokes. When combined with steroids, dehydration, and drug use, the risks multiply. Here's something that will blow your mind. These super fit-looking guys have weak hearts. By now, you would have noticed that one of the most overlooked problems in bodybuilding is heart health. Bodybuilders spend hours each day lifting heavy weights, sculpting their muscles to perfection. But in the process, many ignore cardiovascular training. While they may look fit on the outside, their hearts often tell a very different story. Most bodybuilders focus almost entirely on resistance training. They want bigger arms, thicker legs, and wider shoulders. Cardio, such as running or cycling, is often skipped because athletes fear it will burn muscle. Over time, this choice leads to poor endurance, reduced lung capacity, and weak heart performance. Even though bodybuilders have very low body fat, this does not mean they are safe from heart disease. A lean, muscular body does not always equal a healthy heart. The heart itself is a muscle, and without enough aerobic exercise, it becomes stiff, enlarged, or strained. The danger of ignoring cardiovascular health shows up in the statistics. Studies reveal that sudden cardiac death, SCD, accounts for about 38% of deaths among bodybuilders. This is shocking when compared to the general population, where the rate is far lower. In fact, bodybuilders face 14 times higher risk of SCD than non-athletes. For professionals who use more drugs and push their bodies harder, the numbers are even worse. Autopsy reports often confirm the same pattern: enlarged hearts, thickened walls, and clogged arteries. These changes are usually linked to a mix of steroid use, high blood pressure, and a lack of cardiovascular conditioning. The result is the same: hearts that look powerful but fail under stress. The bodybuilding stage demands size and shape, not heart health. This culture pushes athletes to prioritize appearance above everything else. Some bodybuilders collapse during training, while others die suddenly at home, often without warning. Friends and family are left shocked, because on the outside, these athletes looked like the picture of health, but inside, their cardiovascular systems were fragile. The dangers of bodybuilding are not just stories from the news. They are also supported by scientific research. Over the last few years, several studies have looked closely at why bodybuilders die young. These studies focus on steroids, heart problems, and organ damage. The results confirm what many already suspected. Bodybuilding, when combined with heavy drug use, carries serious risks. In May 2025, Dr. Marco Vecchiato and his team published a study in the European Heart Journal, looking at more than 20,000 male athletes who competed in bodybuilding events between 2005 and 2020. The researchers wanted to understand why so many bodybuilders were dying young. They found that steroid use, especially anabolic androgenic steroids, AAS, was the biggest cause. Steroids upset the body's hormones, raise blood pressure, and put serious stress on the heart and kidneys.
While it's not always easy to separate the effects of steroids from other drugs like growth hormone or insulin, the study showed that heart failure and kidney failure were the main killers. The authors called for better health checks and more awareness, warning that many in the bodybuilding world still ignore these risks. The Vecchiato et al. Study, published in the European Heart Journal in May 2025, followed 20,286 male bodybuilders over time. The findings were alarming. The death rate reached 81 per 100,000 athlete years, far higher than in the general population. Even more shocking was the risk among professional competitors, who faced an especially elevated chance of dying young. Among pros, the rate of sudden cardiac death, SCD, reached 193.63 per 100,000 athlete years. This means professional bodybuilders are many times more likely to die suddenly from heart problems compared to ordinary men. The study made it clear, competitive bodybuilding has a unique and dangerous link to heart disease. This suggests that the strain from both high-protein diets and steroid use attacks the kidneys as well as the heart. Another trend is clear when looking at history. Bodybuilders before 1990 lived longer, even if they used some steroids. But after the 1990s, drug use became more intense. Athletes began stacking steroids with growth hormones, insulin, and diuretics. The goal shifted from balanced physiques to extreme size. As a result, bodybuilders from the last 3 decades have died at much younger ages. Even the pros are speaking out. When it comes to bodybuilding deaths, experts and influencers have not stayed silent. Doctors, scientists, and even retired athletes are raising their voices about what is really happening behind the stage lights. Their insights shed light on why so many bodybuilders are dying young and what might be done to change the trend. Dr. Mike Israetel is not just an exercise scientist, he is also a bodybuilder himself. This mix gives him a unique perspective. In his talks, he often discusses the dark side of steroids. While steroids can build muscle quickly, he explains that they also come with hidden costs, anxiety, depression, and long-term physical risks. He points out how steroids strain the cardiovascular system, leading to high blood pressure and eventually heart problems. Israetel is not fully anti-steroid. He believes that, if people choose to use them, they should do so under medical supervision and with proper cycling. Still, he warns that even supervised use can cause irreversible damage to the heart, kidneys, and mental health. Drawing from his own bodybuilding experience, Israetel often criticizes the modern mass monster culture. Instead of chasing size at any cost, he argues for a more balanced training approach that includes cardio and recovery to reduce health risks. Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Chris Rayner has also spoken openly about bodybuilder deaths. He explains the problem in medical terms. Steroids enlarge the heart. Extreme muscle mass overworks the body, and dehydration from diuretics throws off electrolytes. According to Rayner, when these factors combine, they create the perfect storm for sudden death. His conclusion is blunt but clear. Bodybuilding, when pushed to extremes, is dangerous to long-term health. Lee Priest, a bodybuilding legend known for his honesty, has shared his own concerns. Priest has repeatedly said that the main reason bodybuilders are dying is unchecked PED abuse and poor nutrition. In his view, many modern athletes use too many drugs without caring for their basic health. He often compares older generations of bodybuilders who cycled off steroids and ate more balanced diets with today's competitors who stay on year-round. His words carry weight because he speaks from experience inside the industry. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to end this way. There are simple steps that could save lives. Experts agree that bodybuilding does not have to be deadly. There are ways to reduce the risks, though none of them make the sport completely safe.
One suggestion is to cycle PEDs under strict medical supervision instead of using them non-stop. Regular health monitoring, including blood tests and heart scans, can help spot problems early. Experts also stress the importance of cardiovascular training. Even 20 to 30 minutes of cardio a few times per week can strengthen the heart and lower sudden death risks.
Many experts call for better education about the risks of steroids and sudden cardiac death. Recent studies have already urged federations to raise awareness, especially for professionals who face the highest risks. Coaches, sponsors, and organizations could help by promoting safer training practices instead of rewarding dangerous extremes. The shocking truth is clear. Bodybuilding's pursuit of size comes at a deadly price. Awareness is the first step toward change. If you found this eye-opening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden risks behind bodybuilding. Today's most extreme sports.